Well, hello, everyone. It's June 22nd, the day after summer has begun, and different guests today. You have myself, Drea Humphrey from British Columbia, and the lovely Freedom Queen herself, Tamara Lich. Thanks for joining me as we come in and I guess fill in the gap for David Menzies, who's out on an important journalistic mission. And Sheila Gunn-Reid, who, as many of you probably have seen, is has been helping out with some of the crazy flood situation in that area in Alberta. Tamara, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, Drea. Thank you. Yeah, the first day of summer, but it sure doesn't feel like summer out here. We're definitely not getting the rain that they're getting up north, but I know we're watching what's happening up there with great concern, and the flooding looks unbelievable, unfathomable, really.
Absolutely. I think Sheila said it looks like biblical proportions out there. So say some prayers for the people dealing with that out there. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with our lives, this is a fun way to get your daily news in, both for you and us. We love it because, it's totally off scripted. Not that we're scripted anyways, but it's off the cuff and you get to join in and be a part of the show. So what that means is if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave us a super chat. And if you donate $5 or more to help us with our independent journalism, we read that and it becomes part of the show. And if you're still watching this after it is live and you just want to support us, you can leave us a super thanks. And then our free speech friends at Rumble also have an avenue for you to watch your favorite shows and join in on this live stream by leaving a Rumble rant with a donation of $5 or more. So thank you for everybody who comes through, and $5 here, $10 here. It really all does add up to keep our journalism going strong. And I guess we'll jump into some of the topics we have here today. Actually, I think, Tamara, you're really passionate about this one. Why don't you take it away?
Oh, the resignation of Keir Starmer this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, well, hot on the heels of the release of the rape gang inquiry report, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, has resigned this morning. Now, it was revealed in the report that while Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions, it was reported that 13,000 suspected gang rape members were let off with warning letters instead of being prosecuted. So I think he's going to have some interesting times ahead, and I think this is very positive for the UK. Look what's happened, under his tenure with all the issues that they have going on there right now.
Yeah, but he got teary-eyed, but not because of what you said with the rape gangs. Let's listen to him here.
Yes.
And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
I wonder how many tears and how hard it is to feel like you're being the best dad if your daughter was one of the many victims in this situation where Starmer didn't choke up, or the farmers. Some are pointing out,
Yes.
all the issues with the farmers that have happened there, and even Henry Nowak and his family. Where were the
Yeah.
tears over that?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good riddance. I'm happy to see him go. And as you said, there wasn't any tears shed for all those victims. And I haven't even been able to bring myself to read that report. I've seen some excerpts out of it, but it just,
Yeah.
and even those turned my stomach. I'm going to get around to it because I do believe that it's important, but I just haven't been able to prepare myself for that yet.
Oh,
It's
it's so
shocking.
thick and so heavy. And the fact that, well, one thing I want to say is before people celebrate, because that's kind of how it felt when Trudeau was gone. It was like, he's
True
finally
enough.
gone. Hopefully they don't get someone in who's, better at fooling the people for a while there, and then getting, it seems, almost more damage more quickly than the one before. So hopefully this is going to be, somebody much better is going to come and replace him. Okay.
Hmm.
We're moving
Mhm.
on to Western news now. Big news here. Oh, actually, Tamara, we have you recapping our upcoming Calgary event.
Oh, yes. Well, I spent the week in Calgary last week in Carrie Sakamoto's hearings for her proposed class action lawsuit. So I should have a report coming out on that today or tomorrow. But it was a really great week. I was really happy that I could be there with Carrie. This is a great big case for her, obviously, and it's going to help or potentially help other vaccine injured Canadians going forward. It was really interesting to me to listen to the arguments from the federal government, of course, pointing fingers, deflecting the blame. At one point he had the audacity, and this is the one time the courtroom gasped, was when he said that it was in Carrie's evidence that she had been admitted into the vaccine injury support program. It was in her evidence that she'd been offered monetary compensation, but it wasn't in her evidence if she received that compensation. And he said if she had, then what could her damages be? Which I thought was extremely tone deaf and cold. Now, both the counsel for both governments did acknowledge, her hardships and what she's been through, but it was very tone deaf, very cold, very dismissive to the concerns of the vaccine injured. But again, I was just really happy that I could be there for her also.
Absolutely. I mean, you say that uh, vaccine injured, it rolls off the tongue, and it should have always, but I remind people of years ago how hard it was to report on those.
Yes.
YouTube would completely shut you down. We had to basically speak in code language. We had
Yes.
to do symbols on our arms. We had to do little intros and then throw to Rumble. Thank God for Rumble, and say, if you want to watch this full report, just how evil and sick of a time it was, where you could take an experimental jab that the government was pushing on you, then have your life ruined in so many ways, these people whose health was taken from them. And you can't even talk about it. You have no
Hmm.
voice. If you did, you would be silenced. You would be critiqued as some sort of, what was the word? Causing vaccine hesitancy. And so,
Yes. Right.
it is so important that you're out there, being with her, getting her voice out, because people still don't know what's happening. And we even saw in the US, no coverage from the mainstream media of Dr. Fauci being exposed by the US government for, yes, the
Yes.
gain of function, it would seem, research going on. Everybody was a tin hat wearer when we talked about that before. So the truth is rolling out, but it's like there's still no reaction from the people who were engaging in mass hysteria during that time.
Agreed. Agreed. And, that's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to be a rebel now, is that you guys were one of the first to try and cover all of these stories. And when nobody else could, or when nobody else would, and even if you did have to do it in code, you were always pushing to get these stories out there, like Carrie's, Kayla's, Dan Hartman's, etc. I mean, there's so many, and there were no other mainstream media reporters there, period. Actually, I think one popped in for about 2 minutes and then left, but I didn't verify if he was mainstream or not. And I realized this is not a great, big, huge, sensational case. I mean, it's really going to the outcome's going to be, is a class action the appropriate avenue for Kayla or Carrie to receive help, or should she do it with an individual claim?
Mhm.
But it's still very important for a lot of Canadians. I don't know too many people that haven't been affected in some way, maybe not as severe, thank goodness, as Carrie and Kayla and of course Sean Hartman, but many Canadians have still been impacted in some way
Mhm.
by these jabs. So I was just so proud to be there and to sit with her and to represent Rebel News in that respect. And then what followed, of course, we can't really, we got to touch on the Keith Wilson, Tanya Clemens press conference that they had regarding their new TPA here for Alberta independence called Let Alberta Decide.
Mhm.
Keith Wilson hosted, called a press conference here on the weekend,
Nice.
and they released their platform, and had a great press conference. They invited a lot of the mainstream media, and it was funny because at one point, of course, I got up to go ask my question. I didn't see anybody jumping up right away, so I jumped up right away to go ask my question. And made just some off the hand remark about, hey, Keith Wilson, I love your work. And there was one global reporter there that didn't find it too funny.
Oh
actually.
my gosh. I mean, for those,
let's have a look.
oh yeah, I was just going to say he was your lawyer for those who are not connecting that.
Yes, that's right.
Hi, Skylar Peters, Global News. I have two questions, if you don't mind. Sure. First of all, I do want to make a comment to Ms. Lich. First of all, when you say that you're a huge fan of someone's work, you put a stain on this microphone, and everyone that comes here after you has to speak into the same microphone, so I'd appreciate if you stay objective when you ask questions to people that are stating their case. With that said, I have a couple of objective questions, if you don't mind. You spoke about the grassroots movement.
You could even hear Keith laugh there.
Like splitting the message. There's so much coming from so many different sides in this separatist movement. Obviously, you want to establish yourselves as
separatist is the new anti-vaxxer, by the way.
The front runner voice for this. But yeah. Are you concerned that it might muddle the message a little bit, and people that do support what you are after? At the end of the day, when they go to mark that ballot at the end on October 19th, that they just don't get the message just because they're hearing it from so many sides.
Well, it's the beauty and
yeah, he's very passionate about his work, obviously.
That is hilarious. Just so triggered by you getting up there. It must be so annoying to so many of your haters that you are working, you are asking questions to leaders and even politicians, when the state would have you, and of course your haters, stuck and confined in your house under house arrest. But he almost acted like he was back in COVID, like it was going to be contagious. Your liberty to show your personality a bit as a journalist, which we know the other side of journalism doesn't usually get to do.
Wow. Well, and and even that said, as he was saying it, I mean, I totally understand his point. However, obviously, I'm still quite a noob. And number two, as I said to Ezra afterwards, obviously, Mr. Wilson and I have a professional relationship that goes back quite a few years now. So, anyways, I was just trying to break the ice a little bit and stained the microphone in the process, I guess. Oh well.
It's too funny. Okay. Now, what do we have here? What isn't so funny is this Canada or Islamida. I'm going to click on this article here. Basically, an Islamic call to prayer is being tested in Regina right now. You heard that right. Good luck getting the Lord's Prayer going out in a public space. I don't know why I'm having troubles opening this. Oh, it's my X app, I think, is down a bit. Just give me a sec here. One moment. I have aging eyes, so it's too hard for me to read off the screen. That's why I look at my phone. All right, so Friday afternoon saw the Regina City Jamia Masjid, I don't know if I said that right, broadcast its first live outdoor call to prayer. It's first. There's more to come.
Right.
At 1 p.m., they delivered their first live outdoor prayer, also known as the Islamic call to prayer, I'm saying that a lot, before their weekly Juma congregational prayer. The Friday call came from the former building of the Canadian Cancer Society, Regina office. And here's a statement here from Mr. Ansur Rahman. He says, we believe that this will help us in Regina to be familiar and introduce the Regina City Jamia Masjid with the Muslim and non-Muslim community, because we are here at the heart of Regina downtown. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, this played for 3 minutes. It's very loud. They had speakers on top of the roof, is my understanding. We believe in multicultural diversity, and we appreciate the Regina Police Service for giving us permission to test the call to prayer with the loudspeaker on the rooftop, to give us that permission for 1 month to test, to see how it is going before they actually issue a permit for a longer period of time. And it says it could be going for a year lower down, towards the end of the year. they'll have to renew the permit every year. So they're testing the waters. My guess is to see how far they can get away with it. And then it's right there. They plan to get away with this much longer and get a longer permit that they would do every year. In terms of how far the call is expected to travel, Rahman said that it will be within a 1 kilometer radius from the building. What say you, Miss Do Not Honk So Loud?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, sounds like I don't even know what to say. As somebody that was born and raised in Saskatchewan, I never thought that the Islamic call to prayer would ever be blared from the loudspeakers in Regina. And now, as I understand it, there is considerable pushback from the locals in Regina about this, even ratioing some of their social media posts about it. So, people aren't happy. They do have their places of worship, I think, where this stuff can happen, just as we have, to go to our church to listen to our things. So I think it's very concerning, and yeah, I don't know how this is going to play out.
It's quite shocking. I looked at the statistics, the percentage of Muslims. This is based on 2021. I would assume it's much more now. It's 4.6% Muslims back then. So to be blasting a prayer out loud for a 1 kilometer radius, I mean, again, sounds crazy. You might know this area better than me. Is this particular area predominantly Muslims? Not that I think that should really matter in Canada, but do you know anything about the area?
It shouldn't matter. I'm not so familiar with it anymore. I mean, I've heard of the street before, but I'm not familiar with that whole area as a whole. Yeah, and I believe I read somewhere too that the Muslim population in Saskatchewan, it's the fastest growing population in the province of Saskatchewan right now.
I think it's
I'm
the
pretty sure I read that
fastest
somewhere
growing
yesterday.
religion. It's not the most dominant religion in Canada, but across the country, it's certainly the fastest growing religion. I think in the last handful of years, it's gone up 20%. So definitely a different time. We have another video here for the first time ever. It's basically about the same thing. Let's play that second video.
Yeah.
Or is it the same video? Oh, there it is. It was loud in my headphones.
Kilometer.
A kilometer. That is just nuts to me. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Again, I use the Lord's Prayer as an example of how this is definitely a two-tiered thing. We've reported on Rebel News so many times. I would say well over 20 street preachers who have literally been arrested across the country for, preaching the gospel. And to be honest, the majority of those arrests in BC that I've reported on, it's always been when they've kind of been challenged actually on the Muslim faith, when someone comes up and asks them, and then it's like almost sudden, like that same day or the next day. Even the police have gone to their house after they preached on the sidewalk and came here. So just a big two-tiered system there. It seems so shocking, like you said, and even to hear it.
I did speak with somebody from Regina this morning, and she told me that there are 10 churches in that vicinity.
Oh, of course.
That music will be blasting over. 10 Christian churches within that area too.
I'm not surprised to hear that, because there is also a very common theme of Muslim people buying out churches. They actually go to churches and sort of recruit them. And I know that sounds kind of innocent, but if you look at how many it's happening to, where they actually go and they offer so much money, or they'll, even if the church is not saying it's for sale, they'll crowdfund in advance to go and offer to this church to take it over. And it's not because they can't find another location. In fact, a lot of their locations are not marketed as like a religious mosque. They're marketed as their community center. So they have lots of options. But a lot of people are saying this is actually more about going to sort of churches where, maybe there's not that many people and kind of taking it over and making your mark. So interesting times if we see this going on, and interesting times. I'm going to make one more reference to show how much of a double standard that is, and that would be all of the permits that were denied across our entire country for Christian musician Sean Foyt to come sing here last year. I think that was just 9 different jurisdictions in our country said he was too radical to sing, even though he had sang peacefully here years before in public spaces without any incident. He could not perform here, and I think he only performed at 2 places. Alberta was one.
And somebody smoke bombed one of his performances even. Remember that?
In the church. And the police did nothing. Our very own Alexa Lavoie had to crack down and find who that person is and say to the police, he's right here. I mean, this is Canada. This is quite concerning when you see that. So it will be interesting to see if they get that longer permit when a Christian, actually, was he able to perform in Regina? I can't remember. I can't remember look either. Into that if they get the permit.
Yeah.
Crazy times. And now when people think of British Columbia and buying property out here, which I don't have, I don't own property. I talk about the land rights thing all the time. I'm very passionate about it because maybe one day I'll be able to afford. If I can't even afford it, and then we don't even know what Aboriginal title means, then, my hope is double lost. But when you think of buying property, even a condo, you know that Vancouver is one of the most expensive places in the world to buy property. So we definitely have an issue. But here's the thing. Mark Carney, our prime minister, thinks we're idiots. And so his idea to help with that is getting a lot of backlash, as it should be. Let's hear Poilievre slam his federal BC, so let's not leave out Premier Eby because he's in on this plan, to buy vacant condos, and Poilievre is rightfully calling it a bailout for developers.
Where is your bailout? Because Mark Carney's seems to have a bailout for anyone who's part of the Liberal club of power brokers, corporate insiders, and lobbyists. They all get a bailout. The latest example is the bailout that Mark Carney announced for developers and banks here in Vancouver. Let's just be clear what he's promising. He came here and said he was going to transform 2,200 empty condos into affordable homes using what he called innovative financial tools. What innovative financial tools? It sounds like magic. And normally the innovative financial tool to turn an overpriced empty condo into an affordable home is for the price to drop until someone can afford to buy or rent it. So why not just let that happen? Well, Mr. Carney answered that question. He said because the developers do not want to lose money. All right.
Okay.
Well, they took a risk. They decided they wanted to build those condos at a time that we were in a housing bubble, but now they're selling those houses, those homes at a time when the housing bubble has burst. So the risk did not pay off, and they would lose money. Well, somebody's going to lose money here, because if the condo goes from expensive to less expensive, who's going to pay the difference? Well, Mark Carney wants you, the taxpayer, who's struggling with mortgage payments, grocery bills, and high gas prices, to pay those losses instead of the developers who took the risk in the first place. He wants to privatize the profit and socialize the losses. In other words, make you pay the price. This is a transfer of wealth by Mark Carney. It is a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts, who Mark Carney wants to bail out.
That is exactly right.
Exactly.
The have-nots to the have-yachts. And I've been hearing that it's $3.2 billion bailout, but this article here by CBC actually says it's going to be, over the next 10 years, the federal government would invest more than $5 billion into British Columbia's local infrastructure. Okay, I've read that wrong. So that's investing into the infrastructure. So it is 3.2 billion, and it's going to go into those 2,200 vacant units. And we have even someone who, might normally, be on board with a Carney plan, we would think. This is Andy Yan, the urban planner and director of Simon Fraser University City Program. And he's speaking out about this, or at least causing questions, saying how much of this is really a way of helping out the industry versus, I think, a bailout in terms of bad business decisions by some of these developers. So it's not just Polyev, the opposition, bringing this up. Other people are bringing it up too. And there needs to be a little bit of background on this. First of all, what Polyev said about the way that you should handle this is they made a bad investment. They end up getting forced to lower their costs. Then people can afford to buy it. And that actually helps the whole market. That helps everybody around it get out of what we've been living in. We're just buying a house is just too unaffordable. That's why those places were like it. But if you actually go back into this history of Carney and Vancouver and all of these things, it goes really deep when it comes to what I would say sort of elite, almost developers. So I've shared an article in the chat. If we go lower down, Sam Cooper's done a lot of good work on this. This is actually Mario speaking to it. But the Condo King is something, a name of Bob Rennie, who many people know about, and many people sort of associate his wealth and his attributes to the economy, to the foreign buyers getting a lot of our property out here too, and he's successed off that too. So Mario says the Condo King organized a 25,000 per plate lunch with Greg Robertson, who is now the Liberal Minister of Housing, the same Condo King that benefits from the $3.2 billion bailout Carney and Eby just gave to the wealthy condo developers. So he's going to benefit from this. Imagine you're gathering $25,000 per plate dinners for the Liberals. And now you need this bailout. You and your friends are likely to need this bailout. And I mentioned Sam Cooper. I'm just quickly opening up one of his articles. So we see that this condo marketer, Bob Rennie, the man with the industry calls the Condo King, he sold the pre-sale towers that define the skyline, and he was British Columbia's Liberals' top fundraiser, the broker who made property developers the party's leading donors. So, I mean, this runs really thick. And I just want to say one more thing before I get your opinion on this. I wrote an article that I did share, and I think this was maybe a couple of years ago, because again, the conspiracy theorists are really just conspiracy realists, and we're just a little ahead of our time with most things. Maybe not everything, okay? Maybe not everybody is wearing a mask, but here's my article about Carney's housing plan, which promotes foreign ownership of local real estate. So I actually wrote this last year, and this was Bob Rennie's idea, pitching to Carney, and they're in discussions about this, to build, you got it, 15-minute cities, one of which is being called a 15-minute community, is already starting out here in Burnaby. Nobody knows this. Well, of course the developers do. Of 40 acres outside of BCIT here in Burnaby. Instead of calling it a 15-minute city, it's going to be a 15-minute community. So a lot going on here. What did you want to weigh in there?
Well, I've heard from a lot of BC residents that want to leave BC and move to Alberta or elsewhere, and their prime concern is the market for themselves out there. I mean, the private citizens that want to sell their property there are going to take a loss in some of these areas, like Cowichan, for example. With all the stuff that's been going on. So, I mean, it's basically a slap in the face to the private citizens that want to sell their properties and leave, because they're not going to be getting bailouts from the Liberal government, probably because they can't host $25,000 per plate dinners.
Oh my God, who can? Who can? This is crazy. And again, biggest donors to the Liberals, at least then, were in fact developers. So are we surprised at all? And how dare Premier David Eby? So we're always we're always connecting the dots with Prime Minister Mark Carney and the many ways that it seems he and Brookfield would be benefiting from the demise of Canada. But you have Premier David Eby going along with this as well, who's already, getting into so many issues over property and things like that as well. So we have right here, speaking of BC and Vancouver and leaving it, we have another video from Polyev about a lady, a citizen here, who has up and left us. Let's hear why.
I met a lady at the airport the other day who told me that she moved from Vancouver to Mexico so that she would feel more safe. Let that sink in. She feels more safe in Mexico than in Vancouver. I met a lady at the airport.
What do you think of that?
Wow. Well, I think that speaks volumes. I haven't spent a lot of time in Vancouver personally, but there was a video report that just came out last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, about the state of Vancouver. It was about the tourists that were visiting Vancouver and how, they were talking about the addicts and the homeless on the street and how dirty it was. It's not a good look, for the city, and it won't be good for tourism either.
Well, it's not good for FIFA. I think we talked about that a couple of days ago on the live. There's people coming here for FIFA. I'm going to Canada, and they're looking at the downtown east side going, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Also in Toronto, the one man from Ecuador, I think he's an influencer, saying, guys, this is like a third world country out here. You have like people just over here, digging in the garbage. Like, what's going on here? So yeah, you hit that on the nail. Now, realistically, statistically, Mexico is more dangerous than Vancouver. I mean, there's just no way around that. I'm not sure if you're feeling unsafe here, the answer would be to go all the way to Mexico. There's safer places in Canada, safer places in BC. But I understand why so many people are leaving, especially beautiful British Columbia, because I think it's a collective thing. And it's about how fast and how sudden we're seeing the decline. I mean, in different areas like the Tri-Cities, you never saw like homeless encampments until more recently. So I think that it's kind of more, my guess would be the contrast of how it was in your own lifetime, in your own decade, the last decade, to what it's like now. And then it seems like, oh my gosh, this is super bad. And that, of course, signals the fact that we do need to have strong actions against the increase in crime, the increase in homelessness, and people who need actual help, which helps decrease crime if we would actually do that. More on my favorite person, Mark Carney. But before we get to that, we will go to an ad break and see you after that.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
I need to get me one of those burn-on guns. I feel a little safer since we don't have a castle law yet. We have another ad from our great friends at Rumble. I say friends, they don't even know who I am, but I just say friends. They're friends to the country. So the Rumble wallet says, we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like Rebel News directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some, which can be a confusing process, but it sounds like not with the Rumble Wallet. So very interesting there. I'm actually going to read just a couple of our super chats, or maybe they're Rumble rants, I'm not sure, because they relate to what we just talked about. The first one, which we talked about, was the Muslim call of prayer playing loudly in Regina across a 1 kilometer distance. Politician Niverus donates $5. Thank you. Says, this is disgusting. Muslim countries play this every day there in nowhere. Sorry, you guys. I have contacts on and I'm getting old. It's hard to read. I got to figure out something. I need reading glasses. Can you believe that? I'm so sorry. Okay, Muslim countries play this every day there in nowhere in town where you won't hear it. Okay, maybe that was harder to read. So, and then P. Schofield donates, P. Schofield 10 donates $5, says, we'll see if non-Western Canadians have also had enough of Carney to bum rush his backside out of the office like the Brits just did with Starmer. My guess is no, not yet. That is a very good point. I honestly think we might be getting a little closer than what we think. Do we have the CBC panel? Yeah, I think on that note, I'm going to jump to the CBC panel discussing Carney. The state-backed news can't even deny what's going on.
What happened this week is that the Liberals decided to use their majority to shut down debate and pass legislation that is very controversial, bills that were not studied, in some cases had no witnesses that even testified as to whether this was good or bad.
What we're witnessing today, I'm going to explain to my 15-year-old.
We have never seen anything like this, ever.
To have amendments rammed down our throats without debate, without discussion, is patently wrong.
I agree that it's unprecedented to find the government using its newly found majority not obtained at the polls to speed up or force feed 9 bills through the House of Commons.
So yeah, I'm a bit animated here. The government said they didn't want this bill, and at the literal last minute, Wednesday night, we are talking about amendments that impact each and every Canadian.
They would probably point to the privacy legislation as trying to build trust. I'm not saying that it will, but
in fact, it doesn't. It makes the Privacy Commission accountable to the government rather than accountable to Parliament.
What is happening here may have been duly passed, but it is wrong. And one day, in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, a court may be reviewing our words. And they may well look at what happened here tonight and talk about the lack of discussion, the lack of consideration when they were reviewing whether amendments put forward that aren't even public yet. We can't even talk about this. By the way, who breached parliamentary privilege with the Toronto Star? Who breached privilege with the Toronto Star? Am I in the twilight zone here?
They don't know.
They don't know.
Nope. Don't know, don't care. I mean, that was so good. Now, somebody obviously edited that together. I can't open X to see who did it, so you could see kind of both sides. But my point there is you have the state media being backed in this corner of, you know, there's nothing democratic about what Prime Minister Mark Carney has done after getting this majority. And let's not remember, all of this has been supported by all of those conservative MPs that cross the floor conveniently to get this type of stuff rushed through.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, and the panel that we just saw, you know, they're partially responsible for him being there, you know, with their Trump derangement syndrome and their anti-Polyev stance. I mean, they've been up here, you know, advocating basically for Mark Carney and his Liberal government from the get-go. So now to sit them, you know, see them expressing some concern now is a little bit ironic. I just looked up some stats here. You know, his first year in office, well, as of the middle of June, Mark Carney sat in 36 out of 137 question period sessions.
Wow.
36.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that makes sense. He's always somewhere else but Canada. Didn't even live in Canada before he became the prime minister, pretty much. So that's not surprising. But that stat is crazy. And you're right. The state media is by and large the one to blame. I can remember we all felt it when people were done with Trudeau, including the Liberals. And it was like, okay, it's going to happen. We all felt it. And then all of a sudden, like you said, the Trump derangement angle in the mainstream media really, what was it? You know, the tariffs and everything like that. Like people were voting, in particular boomers, not all boomers, but a lot statistically, were voting as though they were going to dethrone Trump somehow by bringing in Mark Carney, no deal Mark Carney. And it's just ridiculous. So now here we are seeing, oh, you know, there's something else going on. And it's not just the state media saying something about it. And obviously independent media has already been blowing the whistle on this. Elizabeth May, who, you know, is leaving office, but even she has something to say, a stern warning about this.
I'd love to get all of your thoughts on this government's use of time allocation motions, because I mean, you've all laid out various concerns you have with various bills that are sort of being rushed through, but you know, how do you balance that as well with the fact that there are only so many sitting days and you need to move things forward?
Why are we in a rush right now? We could add sitting days. That's a discretionary choice. We could use our time well. We have, and if we followed the rules of Parliament, which no one has for decades, we could make Parliament work more efficiently. We could add more days if you need time to study bills.
Yeah.
And we're not getting it. This government, I mean, I decried the Harper administration's use of omnibus budget bills. It was appalling. And then time allocation over and over again, more than any previous government. And then the Liberals under Trudeau promised no more omnibus budget bills and no more time allocation. But now, this administration is not only using omnibus budget bills to hide things that were never mentioned in the budget at all, like we're going to deregulate pesticide use to allow dangerous pesticides to be used. That wasn't in the spring economic statement either. Again, this moment, right now, is the worst I've seen in 15 years as an MP, with prime ministers going from Stephen Harper to Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney. I've served in that parliament with all of those governments in majority positions and minority. This is the worst I've ever seen, and I feel that democracy itself is disrespected. Parliament itself is disrespected.
Non-existent.
And the existence of, reminds me of what the late Jim Travers said once. You can talk about democracy. You can go to Ottawa. It's basically a democracy theme park. All the buildings are still there. You can tour them, but there's no democracy going on.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And at the time, I thought there's still some democracy going on. But welcome to the democracy theme park.
Wow.
Wow.
I never made it to
Well,
the
I
end of
can
that one
honestly
yet.
say that's probably, I didn't see the end of that either, but that's probably the first and only time I will ever 100% agree with something that Elizabeth May says. And how shocking for her to, it is quite, you've jumped the shark when Elizabeth May thinks that you're living in a socialist, communist country, essentially.
Well, that's what I was saying to Pete Schofield comment there. You never know. Maybe it is going to happen, but how much damage is going to happen by the time we have a next election? And I say this every time. Every time we talk about Elizabeth May on the live stream, I always say I'm her biggest fan in conservative media. I like her attitude. She's always like that. Whether you agree with her or not, she's always just blunt and to the point. Maybe back off the wine, maybe you go a little too far when you've had too many drinks, Miss May. But I even saw her in person one time in Ottawa, and I said to her, I'm your biggest fan on the right." We shook hands. But here she is coming in with major truth bomb that should concern nonpartisan, should concern everybody in Canada, because she is telling it like it is, and she's absolutely right using that analogy of a democracy theme park under Mark Carney. So quite a scary thought. We have another super chat came in from John L.A. 1776 donates $5. Thank you very much, John. Says, I report news in Southern California and I stand with Rebel News. Thank you again. I remember that you helped us out before. Tamara, defending freedom in Canada, the globalist CCP, WEF stooges must be removed. And yet we have quite a mess. We have quite a cocktail out here in Canada, from Klaus Schwab saying he's so happy that he's penetrated so much of our cabinet, to the CCP what's the word, impacting our elections. Thank you.
Infiltrating. Yeah. Interfering.
Thank you. Interfering our elections. We've got, hidden secret Chinese police stations out here. We are such a mess. So thank you for your support from California. Now you got some of your own troubles out there in California, I might say, but we definitely need your support. We'll support you as well. So what is another interesting thing here? Anything stand out to you? We're not going to get through all of it.
I don't think so.
I needed to poll. We've got a poll here. Let's look at the poll. Let's see what the people are thinking.
Yes.
Our latest national poll finds that the Liberals are holding an 8-point lead over the Conservatives, 45% to 37%. Government approval has edged up to 55%, while impressions of both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre have remained largely unchanged. So what does that mean? Poilievre has been, in my opinion, has been becoming, we can put the post up there of that, has been becoming more conservative, in my opinion, but the opinion's not changed yet. But again, I think now that we're seeing a little bit of this messaging come through the mainstream media and more, I think we'll see some change to come, but there's the figures there. How does that, what do you think of that 8-point lead with the Liberals, at least in this poll?
Well, I just don't understand it. Again, we have a prime minister that was basically parachuted in. He's barely been here in the entire time since he's been elected. He's been jet setting all across the country, giving our money away, raising the taxes. I just don't understand where the support comes from, honestly. And I mean, there's nobody, at least out here in the West, and you probably, I don't know about you hearing this in BC, but I mean, there's no Liberal support, you know, in the area that I live. So I certainly have never been contacted to participate in any of these polls or surveys. So I don't know who's answering these questions. I don't understand how this government can have such a high approval rating, period.
Well, maybe it's the developers. maybe
That's right.
they've got good stretch. I mean, and that's the thing. The fundraisers for the Liberals, again, just with the amount that you have to pay to go hear Mark Carney. I mean, 25,000 is outrageous, but even their regular one is so out of reach for the average Canadian. It's not even funny. But yeah, again, just taking it back to when it was election time. And I would go and do streeters, we call it, we're just asking people. And I was not allowed, by the way, I wasn't even allowed to enter the building. I tried to enter the building like everybody else, just to, you know, his rallies out here, and they spotted me immediately. So I would just ask people outside, you know, who are you going to vote for? Obviously it was Carney. And, you know, they would say, because we need change. And I'm like, it's just mindful. Like, what do you mean? Why would you still vote the Liberals if you think you're doing it for change? But I think what the problem is with Mark Carney, he's super smart. I think when he speaks, you know, he knows, for example, when I believe it was Juno News or True North, when we were at the debates and we were lined up, and independent media for the win just wasn't as lazy as the mainstream media. So we got most of the questions. The independent media were first in the mic. And it was Alex Zoltan, I think, with True North at the time, who, you know, just asked, like, you know, about the genders. And Mark Carney just looked at him and said, there's only two sexes. Like, that's what I mean by Mark Carney is smart, because when he gets the microphone, he doesn't really mess up too much. Like Justin Trudeau would say the stupidest things and just talk forever and not make any sense. So I think when you have the mainstream media in your corner for the most part, and then you have Mark Carney who has more brains than Justin Trudeau, it makes it even more difficult for people, because people are so busy. So it's so hard to get down to what the real issues are. Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Do we have time for some cringe? We've already been cringing a bit with Mark Carney. Why not? Let's have some cringe time with Justin Trudeau. We're at it. I think we have a video.
The cringiest of all.
Yeah, he is still the cringiest of all. So here, what do we have here? Oh my gosh, I'm just trying to find it. So a beautiful celebration. So this is Justin Trudeau's post. After, I guess, he was cheering on the United States in FIFA, now he's got a beautiful celebration of strength, resilience, and pride at the Summer Solstice Indigenous Festival this week. And there he is. I mean, this isn't surprising at all. He's got a little bit of a new hairstyle, and I'm seeing a lot of jokes of him being called a lesbian.
No.
With his new hairstyle, but there he is. I mean, of course he's coming out with the pride messaging. A little bit cringe,
of course,
but you know, would have been nice if he finished that term so the Liberals could have got voted out. You know, that's the last salt in the wound sprinkle he gave us. We're screwing up the country so much and then leaving just before election time so that we could get a majority Liberals after. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you very much for joining this live with me, co-hosting with me, Tamara Lich. Thanks for all the producer help behind the scenes that keep us up to speed. Thank you for everybody who did a super chat to help support us. We appreciate that so much. And of course, all of you who are watching, thank you so much for being here. And we will be back next morning for BC, and I guess it's afternoon for Back East.
You know, folks, in my many years of reporting for Rebel News, I've covered corrupt politicians, rogue bureaucrats, and even parking enforcement officers who'd rather take a nap than write some tickets. But I have to say, this is a first. Apparently, I'm now available as a gift. Rebel News has launched something we're calling shoutouts. Here's the idea. You pick your favorite Rebel News journalists. Maybe that's yours truly, or maybe it's someone else. That's okay. I won't take it personally. You tell us who the message is for, what the occasion is, and any details that'll make it feel personal. A name, an inside joke, a few things we should know about them. The more info you give us, the better the video. We'll record a selfie-style video and deliver it straight to your inbox within 3 business days. Birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, retirements, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, you name it. Messages are available in 30, 60, and 90-second increments, starting at just $100. Need it fast? Add 24-hour rush delivery for an extra $50. And every dollar you spend goes directly toward supporting Rebel News and our independent journalism. No government bailouts here, no corporate strings, just Canadians helping Canadians to keep telling the truth. Give the gift no one saw coming. Visit rebelnews.com/shoutouts. That's rebelnews.com/shoutouts to make your request today. I will be waiting.